The range is a moving target. In statistics, we talk 1 sigma, 2 sigma, whatever. There's this standard distribution curve. So the lab is simply telling you that you fit within the window where everybody else is.
Which is insane because everyone else is feeling horrible and sick and is feeling awful. Like, I don't want to be like them. I want to be optimal. I don't want to be average. I want to be optimal for me.
Are you ready to live a life with enough time, money, and energy? Have relationships and connections that delight you? Are you ready for the extraordinary life you know you've been missing? If so, then this is the place for you. I'm a best-selling author, coach, consultant, and speaker who's worked in technology for over 2 decades. I'm a leader at transforming people and organizations from operating in fear, obligation, and guilt to running off joy, ease, and love. It's time for Engineering Emotions and Energy with me, Justin Wink, Ph.D. All right, today we're going to be talking about not just living longer, not just living more successfully, but living better and all the ways that maybe you could live better. Or we're going to get into it because I've got a really fantastic guest here, Martin Pytela. He's a respected functional medicine expert and metabolic typing coach. His mission is to restore vitality to you and the planet. And he's already well on his way there with over 12,000 clients coached since 2011 and over 60,000 students enrolled in his Udemy courses. Martin has a wealth of knowledge to share on topics from healing trauma, managing stress and anxiety, emotions, spirituality, weight loss, metabolism, longevity, mindfulness, gut health, and overall health. And you can also find out more about him at life-enthusiast.com and life-enthusiast channel on YouTube. And we'll make sure you have all the other stuff so you can find him in the show notes. But welcome, Martin. So good to have you here coming. I think you're currently in Canada, right?
Yes, that's where I live. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, it's good to meet you and talk to the audience. Indeed.
Yeah. And I think we're kind of talking a little bit about how, a lot of what we do on this show is talking about, a lot of the, techniques, a lot of the mindsets and a lot of the emotional aspects of, living the kind of life you want to have, building the kind of business you want to have so you can have the success with the fulfillment. Yet, and I've been really learning this, and this is like your area of specialties, is that we can't ignore the physicality. What you put into your system, it matters. Like it can be like trying to drive with the emergency brake on. You could have the most powerful machine, and you could be the best F1 driver, but if the emergency brake's on, it's gonna be shit. It's gonna run like shit, feel like shit, look like shit. Right. So I'm curious, from all of your experience and all this stuff, what's like the main things, that people can do to look at to start going like, something's not working. What do they want to look at? Or maybe what do they not know that to you is just like, this is the no-brainer. But to the average American, they don't let us use our brains in a lot of ways, the marketing and all this other stuff.
Right. Well, in life, you need to, let's try the car metaphor. So you need to know where you're going, right? Mm-hmm. And then you need to have the automobile in an operating order. And so, for example, if you take this automobile and abuse the heck out of it, I'll give you a fleet. I'll give you a fleet of 12 pickups, and I put them out into the field, and I abuse the heck out of them. And each one of them will break for a different reason. In one, the engine gasket blows. In another, differential leaks. In another, the wheel falls off, and all of that. And we will be discussing all of the different nuances of how they came apart or how they broke down. The truth is, the guys were abusing them on the road and they were not maintaining them.
Yeah.
That is the common cause underneath all of that. And that's what we have here in this life of industrialized Western, so good, so much convenience, so much power, and yet such a screw up.
Yeah, where everything is just very much like, we're just going to focus on what is the symptom and that's it, but we're not going to look at, well, what caused the system? What was the root cause? Yeah.
I think it is the pharmaceutical industry that has run off with the general idea of offering people an easy button, a push button. Well, I think it's actually normal for all of us to be energy conservers. We want the easy, right? Like, we don't want to do the hard thing. And yet, in the long run, doing the hard thing usually pays much greater dividends. Anyway, they have been promising the silver bullet. Go with me. I have the thing. You just take it and your problem is gone. But that's a lie, because they are always only focusing on the symptom. That's my story. I was a happy nerd, and then I went to a dentist, and then I ended up with mercury amalgam fillings, and then my whole body broke down.
Oh, because the mercury leaked out or whatever, and
it continues to leak, right? Like it's in your teeth, and every time you chew something, a little bit of mercury gets into the solution, and it just is relentless. It really breaks people down, especially those with genetics like mine, poor methylators. We are less able to get rid of toxins. It's about 40% of the population that's like that.
Well, now you're getting into something. Are you saying that not everybody is exactly the same and one size fits all? Are you saying that there can be some differences from one person to the other, and we shouldn't all be doing the exact same thing? And hold up, Martin.
Let me illustrate. If I were average, I would have one eye blue, one eye brown. I would be curly on half of my head, and I would have one testicle and one breast and one ovary.
Yeah,
right?
We can debate what location would be where, but yeah.
That's the average.
Perfect sampling. Yes.
So no, we definitely are not identical. And here's a really cool story. Back in 1930s, Weston A. Price went traveling around the world. He was mainly interested in dentistry. That's what he was. But what he found is that so long as the people lived on their indigenous diet, they were doing fine. They were healthy, no degenerative changes, and their teeth were awesome. As soon as they switched to the industrial diet, genetic mutations started to come in, and health was declining, and lots of cavities.
Yeah. The environment matters, because it's like diet is a big part of environment.
But say a boy is born in Switzerland in the year 1150.
Yeah.
He's going to be fed rye bread, aged cheese, sauerkraut. On Sunday, they'll kill the chicken. And in February, they'll butcher the pig.
Right.
That's the Swiss experience. Well, a boy born into a North African Bedouin tribe is going to be drinking camel milk, eating dates, figs, and pomegranates. He'll be on a very heavy, starchy diet.
Right.
The kid born to a North American Indian living on the plains, they are following the buffalo. They're eating pemmican, blueberries, bear fat, and buffalo meat. No vegetables, no wheat. In fact, when the white man showed up on the plains with their wheat and whiskey, it completely blew out the nutritional or metabolic capacity of these natives, right?
Right, because they had been, for a long, long time. We'll just be,
20 generations or more.
Multi-generations optimized for a certain type of environment, which included, the diet and the, whatever liquid intakes and other things like that. And then when it's like, oh, here's something completely different, the system isn't ready for that. Like it'd almost be like, we'll return to the car metaphor. It's like you got a high performance machine that requires, the what is it?
Try a different one. One. Diesel engine and gasoline engine.
Oh, even better. Yeah.
Right. High compression, thick fluid, high temperature. So anyway, if you put gasoline into that engine, you just blow it up. Whereas if you put diesel fuel into the low compression, low temperature gasoline engine, you gum it up. It just won't run. And we have a similar analogy here in humans. Some of us are really effective at converting food into energy, and others not so much. And so the ineffective people be needing to be getting the lighter fuel, carbohydrates, whereas the highly efficient people, we need to slow them down. So we need to give them the slow burning stuff, and that's fat.
Okay. So I'm curious, where does somebody maybe get started on this journey? Because I know myself, I've kind of been like, probably for over 5 years now, it's kind of been slowly coming along and getting more refined. And even just in the last few months, kind of had a realization, started, getting, at the beginning of this year, I went and did the standard thing, got my physical, and got the usual test from the traditional doctor, it's like I feel like crap, like I don't sleep well, I'm getting bloated, I'm not feeling good, and all this stuff, and they run the tests, and it's like, oh, everything's within range. Everything's within range, right?
Well,
But
here's
I
the
found
problem.
out something interesting about these ranges, and maybe you want to share what these ranges.
Well, here's the thing. The range is a moving target. This is, in statistics, we talk 1 sigma, 2 sigma, whatever. There's this standard distribution curve.
Yeah.
And so the lab is simply telling you that you fit within the window where everybody else is.
Which is insane because everyone else is feeling horrible and sick and is feeling awful. Like I don't want to be like them. I want to be optimal. I don't want to be average. I want to be optimal for me.
Right. So when you go to a regular doctor, you get the regular American experience. You need to go to the irregular doctor. So if you come visit with Metabolic Typing advisor like me, you get the opportunity to take the Metabolic Typing test. And it's essentially a quiz. You answer about 120 multiple choice questions, and you get back answers to 2 questions. 1, endocrine dominance regulates how you gain weight and lose weight. And it varies. Like, for example, thyroid body type, like mine, I think yours too, gains weight with starch and loses weight with fat.
Yeah, I've learned that like grains, potatoes can have issues, and so I mostly just try to avoid them for the most. But you give me
the beer gut
and fats, and
beer gut is a thyroid body type effect of pushing carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Now that body type is kind of slender arms, slender ankles. Like you should theoretically be able to wrap your hand around your wrist. That's typical for the thyroid type. Slender, taller in women. All of the Virginia Secret models are the thyroid type, every one of them. Whereas the adrenal dominant is built more like the linebacker, deep chest, massive limbs, like his calf is the size of my thigh kind of thing, and the ankle is this big. And they make awesome weightlifters. And in women, you see them mainly in gymnastics, like they're built stocky, like Simone Biles, if you remember watching gymnastics, Olympic Games. She's that type.
So it sounds like getting awareness of just these different ways of eating for different people, and getting dialed in through. It sounds like maybe functional medicine or metabolic typing. That can be a good intro for somebody to start to
to make the point about this adrenal dominant type, they are exactly opposite. They gain weight with fat and lose weight on carby things. So you put them on a keto diet, unlike you, who's getting slimmer, they're putting on weight like it's going out of style. If they want to get slim, they have to go on a fruit salad and veggie salad and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And so it's about figuring out what works best for the individual, not just, this diet works supposedly. It's like, it's just about any diet will work for some group of people. Almost.
It's a statistical thing. Like America is really interesting in the fact that we are now a melting pot of everything. You can have a Norwegian grandmother and an Arabic grandfather. It's a possibility. And which side gets the upper hand, right? Is it the carbo-dominant grandfather, or is it the protein-dominant grandmother that's going to drive your nutritional needs?
And it could be either one, right? I mean, that's the way genetics kind of work. There's no. I remember, back in high school, it's like, well, you have, what is it? The 2 white rabbits, and one has a recessive gene, and it's like,
Gregor Mendel.
You could have a black rabbit from 2 white rabbits.
Feeling overwhelmed by the daily grind? Imagine if you could pause, reset, and truly connect with a calmer, more fulfilled you. It's not just a dream, it's absolutely possible. Hi, I'm Justin, and I invite you to discover the life-changing techniques in my book, Engineered to Love. Right now, I'm offering a free chapter complete with guided audios that have already helped so many people find peace amidst the chaos. These aren't just any techniques. They're transformative practices designed to help you love yourself and engage deeply with the present moment, without even having to close your eyes to the world around you. So join us at engineeredtolove.com/sample and access your free guided session. It's time to bust the busyness and embrace the joy ease, and love in your everyday life. Don't wait. Start your journey to a more relaxed and recharged you today, because you deserve to live a life you love. Visit engineeredtolove.com/sample. See you there.
Yeah. Or you take one really black person, one really white person, and you're going to get one really white, one really black, and two sort of in the middle.
Yeah.
32 of them, you're going to have the whole scale, maybe statistically, right?
Yeah. And then the other fun thing about statistics is just because it's like it's a quarter of this, half of this, a quarter of that, doesn't mean that's how it could play out. It could be you run that experiment, everyone could be all the kids could be exactly the same, or not. Or
this is the coin toss, but the coin has 32 sides, right?
Yeah. And there's nothing that says you toss the coin 32 times, you're going to get all 32 options. You could get one option 32 times in a row. There's nothing that prevents that from happening. It's unlikely, but it's still. And so, I like to kind of say that, like, it doesn't matter if something works 99.9% of the time, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. So, but if something only works for you and doesn't work for anyone else, just do what works for you. Now, when we're talking about creating public policy, that's a whole other thing. But when we're talking about personal health.
Well, let's get into that. So we have this metabolic typing. So one answer is your endocrine dominance, how you gain weight and lose weight. I can tell you after you fill in the questions which you are. So if you're struggling, I can easily show you how you could stop struggling. And the other part is the metabolic dominance, and that actually dictates how you alkalize or acidify. And that's important because if you start alkalizing, you get up late, you procrastinate, and if you get even more alkaline out of the range, you'll get despondent, dark moods, even depressed. Like, you can totally make yourself depressed by pushing yourself too alkaline.
Oh, okay.
The acidic person gets up early and is highly motivated from the get-go. Like, they are the go-getter, just do it. However, as you acidify, you end up with being abrasive, no social graces, cutting people off, interrupting, and if it gets even further out, rage. Road rage is just a greater example of cutting into traffic, right?
Yeah.
And so this rage, that's an externally expressed thing, but it could be also internally expressed, where that leads to anxiety. You would be processing your past, reliving what you wish you didn't do or wish you did do or whatever, just rehashing the past. Or some people project themselves into the future and just paint horrendous pictures of all the stuff that's going to go bad.
I think what I really appreciate about this is that all of the things that you're kind of talking about, usually we would just say that, well, this is only related to very specific, mental health things. And it's like, maybe, maybe there needs to be some therapy, or there needs to be some, some emotional regulation tools, or, like we were talking pharmaceuticals, or, we need to, do some pharmaceuticals. But very rarely, if ever, would there be any talk of, there's the hangry too, of like, well, maybe you were just hungry. But this is going a whole other step further, where it's like, no, it's not just eating yes or no. It's maybe, what are you eating, and what have you been eating, or when are you eating, and not what is your, but all of these physical characteristics that go into what we would usually just describe as like, well, these are just mental or emotional challenges happening that in our Western way, we like to well, that's separate from the physical body, the physical, chemical, biological. Yeah. So I just kind of love this lens of how we're complex, interconnected systems, and you can't just we can't just ignore one part.
Well, let's go with the hangry model. So there are four corners of this. You can be either overly alkaline or overly acidic, and you have two different axes. The oxidizers are alkalized by fats. The autonomics are alkalized by carbs. So they're each other's opposites. So if you are a fast oxidizer, you wake up early in the morning, and the longer you don't eat, the more acidic you become. But the thing that fixes your acidic dysregulation are fats and proteins. So your put me back together breakfast is eggs and steak and sausage and grease, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're the sympathetic dominant, that would make you even worse. Instead, you need to be taking carby things like fruit salad. Start your day with a grapefruit and graduate into apples and bananas.
So it's like what's medicine for one person is the fuel to the fire, and more poison for another in some ways.
Alkalis are acidified depending on what you do and what your model is. And so this Snickers bar, interestingly, it has some fats in it, and it also has some sugars in it. Yeah. So it's hitting both sides, right? One foot on the gas, one foot on the brake, and the whole thing is going like this.
And so it's like, something's happening. I don't know if it's good, but it's happening.
We should probably say this. You should be able to regulate your emotions by your food choices. Figure yourself out. You get either calmed or irritated by this food. And so if you take fat alone, like a spoonful of coconut oil, and wait 20 minutes, it will either sedate you or make you more stimulated. If you're sedated, you're an oxidizer. If you're stimulated, you're an autonomic. And then you test it with the opposite. Here's a good example. Cocktail parties where alcohol is served. The oxidizers are slowly becoming more acidic with each succeeding drink. And so they are becoming louder and more argumentative. And they may even pick a physical fight. And they cannot sleep. They just keep going.
Yeah.
Whereas the autonomic starts with being jovial and friendly and just really up. And then gets into oversharing, starts telling things that they regret later. And finally, they start crying about it and fall asleep.
I feel like you were watching me while I went to college. I feel like you just described your experience. College going. Yeah. Because I could never understand the angry drunk type, because I was just like, you just go, you have fun, and then
you're happy.
And then all of a sudden it's not, and there's a lot of crying, and then like, okay, now you pass out.
So now you have defined the autonomic. So that's you, right? So for you, if you want to have a sleep after dinner, you will have carby things. So to you, and 1 ounce of brandy or something, scotch, is a calm me down, right? That's a settle me down thing.
And that was 1 bottle of scotch or brandy? Was that one? No, 1 ounce. Okay.
A little bit. Your body will easily metabolize about 1 ounce. 2 ounces are difficult. 3 ounces are dangerous.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Martin, how did you get into this? What was the motivator? How did you find yourself in this? Because I mean, maybe I'm optimistic, but I like to think that you're in a good space at a good time, where I like to think that it's getting easier. You're probably starting to get some traction, but man, I'm sure, I don't know when you first really got into it, but it's an uphill battle to try to take the McDonald's away from somebody. I mean,
I was 25, just got out of university. I had computer science and business administration in my background. Anyway, I ended up with mercury fillings that completely broke my body because I was unable to detoxify. That's my genetics.
Yeah.
And things went downhill. And I was fully indoctrinated. I believed in doctors. I believed in professionals. People who have a degree and a diploma and a white coat to boot have to be thinking ecologically, and they have to have the customer, interest in their mind first and foremost.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it happened. It's a business. And I was a customer and an opportunity to make some payments on, I don't know what, the yacht or the new car, whatever it was.
Yeah. And I will say that, like, I know there's tons of well-meaning, doctors, medical practitioners, whatever. And sometimes even as well-meaning, good-hearted, there's others in the systems that have that profit motive, the other thing like that. So even if you are dealing with someone that they don't care about the yacht, they're the most whatever, they have other people in their thing that do have these motivations and things like that. And it's not necessarily up to them. And I've talked to so many where they're just like, I can't actually help people the way I want to help people. So there's so many medical doctors, nurses, dentists, whatever, that go into these other fields, because then they can actually help people the way that they know they can.
Yeah, to explain, the the people are well-meaning, but they're in a system. And
Yep.
the system is actually controlled by the insurance companies. And they are absolutely the parties responsible for the disaster that we're experiencing. They are the ones who are talking about performance. They are the ones who are pushing the doctor to have 6-minute appointments instead of 30. And
Yeah.
they are the ones, like, for example, my own experience, right? Things were done not because they were right for me, but because they were insured.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so if
Anyways,
it's insured, you can bill, and if you can
I
bill,
would
you get paid.
I would so ban all insurances, just all of it. Everything should be out of pocket. Now that we are actually having to think whether it's effective,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and it's what's interesting is I have really good insurance. Yet more and more I find that most of the stuff I actually end up doing, I end up going out of network, paying out of pocket.
yeah,
Anyway, it's like
yeah,
the stuff that is in network, it's like this
yeah,
isn't actually helping me. This isn't actually
yeah,
good, or I don't like this. I don't like the service. I don't like the experience. I don't like the results.
yep.
And I've also gotten into actually, for some things actually going out of country where it is like they're based on reviews. It's, there's market rates and things like that. Like I got gum tissue work done in Mexico a couple years ago. It was the greatest experience. Such a good price. I got like, probably the top 5 person in Mexico for that to work on me. And
I would say that the dentists in Mexico are every bit as good as the ones on the north side of the border.
Yeah.
And they charge you maybe a tenth of the price.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the insurance company telling you how much you need to charge. Like, I don't really want to go too deep into the politics, but I want to tell you, it's the devil itself. I promise that it's the insurance company that has created the monster of a healthcare system that we have here now.
Yeah.
And it's not better in Canada if you think that socialized medicine is good. It's not, because here's what it should be. It should be single coverage, government or private, I don't care, but one coverage and multiple providers where when I go to a hotel, I choose among the 7 or 8 that are there and they're competing with one another for service.
Yeah.
When it comes to the healthcare, they tell me which doctor and they tell me which hospital and they tell me which standard of care I get to experience.
Oh, so there's no choice on any level.
They took it away. It's the most socialized, communist, horrendous thing that they have done under the guise of free market.
Okay.
Nothing like that out there. I promise you, anything that ever helped me with my health was cash, out of pocket. Anything that I ever did under insurance was not a contribution to my well-being.
Well, because I think there's something about, transparency of knowing, what the motivation is, what the cost is of things. Because I always find it ridiculous whenever I see the billing going back and forth with insurance here. Like just a few months ago, I did a Zoom doctor visit. It lasted like 6 minutes. I had a sty in my eye, and I just needed the prescription for the cream or whatever. I'd had one before. They billed $500 for that 6-minute video call.
Service, quote unquote.
And then my insurance steps in and goes, whoa. That's ridiculous. $363. That's a fair price. And then then I have to pay that because I have some giant deductible or whatever. And I'm like, they both are crazy for 6 minutes of.
Yeah. If you had gone to a cash clinic, to a doctor who's not in insurance, he would say, well, 6 minutes, that's probably about $27. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, all right.
Right?
It's great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah.
So about health, right?
Well, so basically you had your a personal health crisis with your filling mercury poison, and basically it sounds like it went from bad to worse because it sounds like you didn't get the care that would have actually immediately started probably to help you out, but it actually prolonged your suffering.
I was seen by doctors, chiropractors, the naturopaths, and all kinds of esoteric stuff.
Yeah.
And all of these well-meaning practitioners were not asking what is the cause of this. They would simply look at the symptom and treat it.
Yeah.
Which is the illness of this society. I'll give you an example. The war on drugs.
Yeah.
We are chasing entrepreneurs, the dealers, who are trying to make a buck, instead of asking, what is it in our society that young people are so distraught, so broken emotionally, that they're trying to numb themselves from feeling what they're feeling?
Yeah, because it's one of those, like, if you're mostly enjoying life and somebody's like, hey, do you want this drug that'll, for about 2.5 hours, you're going to feel to the moon or nothing, and then you're going to feel like garbage until you get your next hit. A reasonable person is going to go like, well, that sounds like a horrible deal. Like, no, thank you. And I've been that person because I was so scared of drugs most of my life. And then I think it was a few years ago, I was seeing someone and she was like into that. And so she's like, hey, do you want to try this, try that? And some of them like, absolutely not. And then a couple of them like, okay, fine, let's try some ketamine or something. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, I don't know. I guess it was fun, but it's how much? Like, and I'm just like, no, thank you. I don't want pass.
Yeah. Well, you see, when you are living a purposeful life, you don't have a need to numb yourself. Whereas when you are indeed purposeless, let's call it that, right? When your life sucks, you want to make it feel less sucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's the motivation.
You don't want to feel, or you want it to feel less sucky, and you'll pay almost anything to do that. Not necessarily money, but also of like, I don't know, thinking of just, going out and, getting drunk. And then it's like, it's not just what you paid for the alcohol, but it's also, then there's the hangover the next day and all these other things that you've been talking about that, it's like the price to pay. And it's like, why would you pay that price? It's like when I was younger, I happily paid it, but now I'm just like, oh no, thanks. I got important things I want to do. I'm going to go hike tomorrow.
So speaking of emotional health, 75% of prescriptions filled in a pharmacy are in fact for emotional altering, either anti-anxiety or anti-depression.
Yeah. Wow.
Let that sink in. 75% of prescriptions filled are for mind-altering substances.
It makes sense because it's like most of the physical related stuff, people don't really get into that until they're much older in life. Whereas all these mental, emotional things, it's like, kids start age 10 or something with some of these various things, and can take them for a lifetime. So
let me try an example. So birth control pills dysregulate estrogen in women, and the side effect is depression. So they are on birth control pill plus
and
SSRI.
Yeah.
To try and cope with that.
Yeah.
Instead, they should just be happily pregnant. Barefoot too.
Well, I guess I'm wondering what algorithm we're trying to optimize for with that statement.
Oh no, I'm just being silly here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but truly, right? Like I remember my wife, 7 months pregnant, was about as balanced as anything. Like she was completely, what's the word? Unperturbable.
Right.
Couldn't get to her. She was just cool, chill, and looked great, felt great. Everything was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
because when we're have our purpose, when we're in alignment with our body, with what we're meant to do, and that changes over time too. So it's like, okay, we're getting ready to create and have a baby. It's like, that should be a happy, joyous time if that's all in alignment. And
so let me try a bit about nutrition again. So we have this emotional stuff that can dysregulate us. I just explained that if you are overly acidic, you'll be riddled with anxiety, stuck in the fight or flight stress side of things. And if you're lacking, and that's calcium drive, by the way. So if you're lacking magnesium, that's going to undo the dominance of that. And it's very common because magnesium is deficient in all of our soils. So if you're not supplementing nutrition that is that way, you're suffering. Now, the most magnesium-rich food is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the same molecule as your hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has iron at the center, and chlorophyll has magnesium at the center. Otherwise, they're identical. So if you eat a lot of green stuff, chlorella, spirulina, wheatgrass, barley grass, all of that sort of thing,
right,
you're going to be balancing your body. In fact, it's the most parasympathizing, or taking you out of fight or flight toward rest, repair, and digest food that there is. Magnesium and chlorophyll. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
So if you find yourself nervous, then you need to reach for those type of foods. And you also need to figure out what alkalizes you and do that. So in your case, that's carbs. But if you overdo carbs, you're going to be fat. So you'll be a fat happy.
So it's about balance ultimately, right?
Well,
For the individual.
Myself, I'm a different type, and I could be a skinny bitch, right?
Yeah.
So that's part one. Part two, the nutrition itself, right? The industrial age has given us phenomenal powers to make things, but our human design is actually, we would do better on natural things rather than processed things. So the industrial agriculture is pushing foods to grow fast with fertilizers. So they look great, but they're actually grown too fast. They don't have the nutrient density that you would have when you grow it slow.
Yeah, they have the look and they have the flavor, but they don't have the same nutrient profile that.
Right.
Yeah. So like a straw, like the modern strawberry is, I guess, dramatically different. Because I was reading, I don't know, autobiography of a yogi, which is a Yogananda, maybe. But he talks about, he was like around in like the 1930s. I think that was what he was, that period of time. And he's talking about strawberries, and it's like, oh, these tart things need some like whipped cream. And I think to most people today, they'd be like, what? A strawberry is bitter? It's like, yeah, strawberries used to be bitter. Like that you would have to add sugar or something sweet to go with them. And now you just pop it like candy because it's been modified to be like candy.
Selected. Yeah, the best example is a tomato. These days you buy a tomato, it looks awesome. It's a beautiful red blob, but it's stiff and it's almost tasteless.
Yeah.
Like if you take a tomato off of a thing that you grew in your own garden and you pick it ripe, it's a very different experience.
Yeah. And so I think that's to kind of get away from this idea of like, well, I've always eaten this food. It's like, no, you haven't. Like, even if it's been, because I think there's something, I heard something that even just within the last like 10 or 20 years, like the additives that get added to the process, like the US allows some like hundreds of more additives that they basically don't even allow it in the other part of the world, but just our system, they can go like, oh, in a lab, we think this isn't going to harm people, but boom, there it is. It's in your potato chips, your whatever.
Yeah. I saw Robert Kennedy just recently pop up and says, the Fruit Loops in Canada are different. They have fewer ingredients. And New York Times jumps all over him and says, they don't have fewer ingredients. They just have different ingredients. So you were wrong. Well, the difference.
Missing the point on that statement.
Yeah, they sure are. In Canada, they use blueberry color and carrot color and beet color to make the orange, red, and blue. Yeah. Whereas in US, you have the red number 5 and the blue number 2 and yellow number 4. I don't know the numbers.
Right.
But it's the chemicals.
Yeah. And like what we've been eating isn't necessarily what we've been eating. And it's just like, got to really read the ingredients, or even, there's just a lot more going on to be careful.
Well, let's go to the baseline. The baseline is the 5 refined things that kill you: refined flour, refined sugar, refined plant seed oils, refined salt, and dairy that's been homogenized and pasteurized. Those are guaranteed to cause you ill health. And yet they are the basis of most of our nutrition, especially people on food stamps are practically forced to eat that because the big agriculture has gotten themselves some huge subsidies on wheat, soy, corn,
and
dairy. Those are the most subsidized foods. So pizza is highly subsidized. Of course, visualize
and it's highly delicious. It's a horrible combination.
It's awesome. Well,
it's
look,
not fair.
Well,
I live across from a Domino's pizza, so you can imagine when I didn't know some of this stuff, what was going on.
Well, so visualize this, right? In wheat, there actually is a substance that is, when digested and absorbed, it essentially is like morphine in your brain. Like it really is. It's addictive. Anyway, the biological point. An
And
Italian
all of
farmer,
all of the companies know this, right? This is only news to me and to the people listening, watching this. But to anybody who runs a giant multinational, for-profit company, they know this is what's happening, right? There's no way you don't know this. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you leave me alone with a bag of Doritos, you break it open, you give me the first one.
Yeah.
If I take it, I will find some emotional twists in my head to say just one more.
Yeah.
Until they're all gone.
Yeah.
It's irresistible. But anyway, going back to pizza. So pizza was invented for Italian farmers, right? Like it's high energy food when you are working in the fields or in the forest or whatever you're doing, physical labor. You're putting out 4, 5, 6,000 calories a day. No problem eating pizza. But anyway, there was a study done. They gave people 2 weeks to eat to satisfaction on the processed foods and on the healthy foods. And at the end of the 2 weeks, they added up all the numbers. And it was that on average, people eating the processed food consumed 500 more calories a day.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
Which is about a pound of fat a week.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think you see it, and I think people feel it. And I sometimes wonder if, because seems so challenging that it's just like, why even bother? Let's just have some pizza, have some Doritos, have some beer.
Well, you're having the same reaction as let's have some cocaine or let's have some whatever, right?
Oh, yeah, because
it's the same. Let me numb myself with food. I mean, emotional eating is a known concept, right?
Yeah. And yet it's worth, because you can't just say no, you have to replace it. It's worth finding the replacements. It's worth understanding what is the real medicine. What are the foods, the supplements, the behaviors that actually let you feel good, so that you do get offered the Doritos. Because like you said you'll rarely start on the Dorito, because you know where it goes. Just like many people know where like the cocaine is going to go, or the shot of the whatever. And it's like, wait, I don't want that. I don't want to pay that price for a shitty experience, right?
Yeah.
And so
when I first quit,
let's get it to the positive of like, yep, the system's a bit rigged. The system's kind of against you, but we also have the opportunity to opt out of that system and start to kind of create our own system that works for us, right?
Yeah. If your audience is people who seek peak performance, they need to put a spotlight on how they're feeding their body. That's without question. And so once you know what makes you sleep better or stay awake better, then you can actually choose it, right? Like for me to calm down, I have to eat a breakfast of fruit salad. That's the thing. I usually make myself a smoothie. So my fruit salad is actually liquid, about yay big. It's got blueberries and apples and a bunch of green powders in it, because that's what I use for my first meal of the day.
Love that. Yeah. And I guess I'd say to, the people watching, listening to this, that they might be kind of going like, well, what are you talking about? I just have my coffee, and then, I have my donuts, and then, I've just got this drive. Because if I don't do stuff, if I don't wake up early, I don't grind or whatever, I'm going to be a loser. I'm going to be out on the street. I'm going to be whatever. So it's like, I'm fine. I've got ways to make it through. I have something I'd like to say to them, but I'd be curious what you would like to say, because I'm sure you've met these people eventually that come to you that the something was working for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Yet probably in retrospect, it probably actually wasn't working as well as they thought. And then at some point,
well, let's go back to the automobile metaphor. Yes. So when I bring it out from the showroom, new tires, right? Everything great. 50,000 miles later, the tires are practically bald. So on a sunny summer day, the traction is awesome. But then it rains and you're like this. And if it snows, you're in the ditch.
Yeah.
So what is the event that you're going to, in your life, equate to the rainy day or the snowy day? Well,
it could be different.
It could be any one thing, right? The stress of life is a string of minor problems interrupted by the occasional catastrophe, right? So let's just say that you have food poisoning. That could take you down for months if you're weak, right? Like,
yeah, as opposed to just like, oh, it was just 12 hours, that were really bad. And then, now more or less.
Yeah, it could be a life-altering event. Or you have a car accident and you get mangled. If you have good level of enzymes and all the other things, you're going to do fine. But if you don't, you're going to take months to recover.
Yeah. And like short of these catastrophes, there's still a lot of this, emotional challenge happening of, either being too anxious, too depressed, maybe too angry, too much of a bitch, too much of whatever. Maybe you're okay with, but maybe the people in your life are not okay with. And
there's an interesting thing. Wi-Fi, 4G and 5G in the millimeter wave. So that's the 5G, like the gigahertz frequencies. They are actually triggering what's known as the voltage-gated calcium channel. So this vibration is actually coming to your body and it is affecting your cells. Some people are more sensitive than others.
Yeah.
And it causes flooding of the cell by calcium. And calcium is the signaling molecule for fight or flight, anxiety.
Yeah.
So if you don't have some devices that are mitigating the effects, then you're fully exposed. I remember a client, she says to me, as I'm driving towards the downtown where they have the smart grid, I'm feeling a wave of anxiety rising in my body.
Yeah.
Physically, right?
Yeah. And it's and this is one of those things where, different people have a lot of different but still, I think the main thing is that our world has shifted dramatically in the last 100 years. And I also believe that our body is incredibly resilient and can deal with lots of changes. Yet it's how much stuff are we putting on us that's either helping us or harming us. And I think we've put an unprecedented amount of stuff into our systems that is, we could even just say it's harmful or neutral, or it's definitely not helping us. But it's so sort of like, like you said, there's this wireless stuff that maybe in isolation, our human systems would be able to go like, yeah, no, I'll adapt to that. And we could say that there's a benefit that we would go, that's a trade-off. Like, okay, you and me being able to talk here over Zoom, I'll take a minor hit, but I'm going to be better in all these other areas. But when we add in all the stuff from, what we're drinking, what we're eating, then the pollution and all this. And then now you add this other, it's just like, no wonder, like you said, what is it? The majority of prescriptions are for mental, emotional, whatever. Cause it's like, it's not just the emergency brake. It's like, we have the fucking boot on the tire too.
The interesting part, a metaphor for the immune system could be something like a camel, the last straw that broke the camel's back, right? And the mainstream pharmaceutical, medical, they like to isolate things. They will say, well, did my thing break you? And of course, statistically, not necessarily. But here's what you do. You're loading up the camel with loads. And the camel doesn't care one bit what's in that 25-pound bag that you just added. And you keep adding, right? At 200 pounds, the camel's okay. 300 pounds, no more running. 400 pounds, no more uphill. 500 pounds, kneels down and says, we're done.
Yeah.
So that's what happens to us as we go, right? Like we keep wearing, we keep adding to the load, and at some point it's over.
Yeah. And it really is what we're putting into our systems day after day. Yeah. What we're feeling is going to have some of the biggest impact on weight, on how our joints feel, on, our mood and all these things. And to just, it's an important part of overall health, well-being, and longevity. Because I think I can get like why some people would be like, why would I even want to live to age 100? Like, it's already so shitty now. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way.
Well, happiness, we know, is found in the pursuit of a worthy goal. So you need to have something to live for. I mean, if at 80 you decide that there's nothing useful coming, then you may as well unplug it.
Yeah. And for the longest time, I was like, what am I here for? And to me, one of the biggest things that helped was just like, my purpose can be exploring what my purpose is. That can be a great purpose for well, I want to be able to try stuff out. So maybe I want to try these are all things I've actually done. I want to try massage school. I want to try yoga teaching.
Yeah,
You know, I want like, I
Well,
want to try acting, or I want to, it's like, but maybe you don't like it, but it's like, hey, if I'm healthy and feeling good, and then I can try the next thing and the next thing. And that can be, and then eventually I think we all do finally hit the thing of like, oh, this is my real thing.
Right. Well, most times things are found in service to others, right? Whatever it is. I mean, we are a collaborative species, right? Even as an architect, I'm designing a house for someone. Even as a, I don't know, dishwasher, I'm cleaning the dishes for someone. It's always doing for others.
Yeah.
And so even, I don't know, if you don't know what to do, just go try wash some floors somewhere.
Is, you know what, at the very least, you end up with some clean floors and a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And a sense that the world is different. This world has shifted because of something that was done. And most people's work isn't like that anymore. And I think that's one of the things, is that tangible, like something has shifted. And I'm really grateful to, have this chance to talk to you and see how you've been shifting people. And you're prolific. You got so many videos on YouTube and posts and things like that. And I just love it. I think you're an inspiration, and also a benefit with putting this stuff out that a lot of it's not popular, even though it's getting more popular. But trying to tell people, eat this, not that, like, because food's a bit of a religion in some ways. And so I'm glad you're doing the good work. Any last thoughts or anything you want to leave people with?
Vote with your wallet. Whenever you make a purchase decision, you're buying something. Whatever you buy, that's an order to the manufacturer to make more of it. So be judicious with what you're buying, because when you're feeding the unworthy, the ones that are poisoning you or making you sicker, you're actually digging your own grave with your fork, so to speak. Just think about that.
Yeah, because they wouldn't make this stuff if we didn't buy it. Yeah, but the other is true is, even though we didn't get into the debate about organic, but there's more organic stuff because more people buy it. Right. Yeah, we can debate, how good and all that, blah, 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 but things have shifted. Things will continue to shift as we get more educated and we start choosing things like that. So I love that. I think that's a great empowering thing. Yeah.
Make it clear and specific. Things that are smelly with industrial artificial fragrances are bad for you. Don't buy them. Don't consume them. Make judicious decisions about the stuff you put on your body, whether it's shampoo or makeup or whatever you put on gets through. If your lipstick is beautiful because it has lead in it, you're poisoning yourself with it.
Yeah. And there's other poisons besides lead. Yeah.
Well, just an example. Water, right? This water is in a glass bottle and has never been in plastic. Why? Because BPA leaches into water and causes dysregulation of your hormonal system. So when you go buy a bottle that's in plastic, that bottle sat on a truck somewhere out there in sunshine, in heat, and it got close to cooking. Okay, so that plastic has leached into that water. Do not buy plastic bottles.
Easy. Glass.
So convenient. Bring it from home. And by the way, put some of these little rocks in it. That's called crystal pearl. We sell that. That's a water structuring device that makes the water better hydrated than otherwise. Anyway, so little things like that. There's so many systems.
There's so many amazing fun things you can get to when you start to make your health a focus. And then the great thing is you end up feeling better, and then you get more excited. And so Martin, I know we want people to go to life-enthusiast.com to find out more info about you and your services, products, things like that. And also you have your YouTube channel with lots of great videos. It's at life-enthusiast. And then I know you're also on Facebook, Instagram, X, and we'll make sure we have, because you have various things for that. We'll make sure we get that in the show notes. Anything else that you want to make sure people don't miss?
We do offer an individual consultation. When you call at Life Enthusiast, you actually get your questions answered. This is not some anonymous buying on Amazon where you click and you get stuff sent to you. We actually will take the time and energy to help you understand what you should get and why.
I would highly recommend that, because this is one of those that for most people, it's so wrecked that you just do anything different, it's gonna benefit. And I know Martin and the people you work with it's gonna be great. And it's so much easier with another person, with a human to help you out, to guide you through this, because it is complicated. But I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be easy, it can be simple, and you can feel good faster. And so this episode will be coming out right before Christmas. So I'd say check that out sooner, even get started before the new year, or maybe get that appointment set so that you start the new year off right. Because you don't need to wake up, January 1st feeling, super fat and hungover and all this stuff. That you can start the new year off feeling great and feeling awesome. I know that's how I'm going to start it off. I'm sure, Martin, that's how you're going to start it off too, right? Feeling good.
Yeah. Many thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Martin. Thanks so much. And thanks to everybody listening. Thank you. And good day. Thanks for tuning in to Engineering Emotions and Energy with Justin Wink, Ph.D. Today's episode resonated with you? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback not only supports the show, but also helps others find us and start their journey of emotional and energetic mastery. You can also help by sharing this podcast with someone you think will love it just as much as you do. Together, we're engineering more amazing lives.